When you think of a millionaire, you usually do not picture someone with a common job, like a waiter, a security guard, or a janitor. But not having a fancy, high-paying job does not mean you cannot become a millionaire. Let me share an article that talks about 3 janitors who became millionaires all on their own. The most amazing story of them all was about a man named Ronald Reed. Ronald spent most of his life working as a gas station attendant and a janitor, making a very low income. In fact, the average pay for a janitor in 2025 is about $15.89 per hour. That adds up to roughly $32,000 a year. So how did someone like Ronald, who made less than the average person in the United States, become a millionaire? I found that this was not even the wildest part of the story. The wild part is that he hid his wealth until he died in 2014. That is when his friends and family were shocked to discover he had nearly $8 million. They had no clue he was rich. The fact that he built that much wealth just by being careful and investing smartly is truly amazing. So how did he do it? I am going to explain the 4 main pillars you need to understand to build millions even with a low income. If you can apply these 4 pillars to your own life, I know you will achieve great things, including reaching that rare 7-figure goal. The first big pillar is being frugal, or as I like to call it, making sure every dollar has a purpose. When your pay is low, you really have to focus on saving where you can. That is the only way you can save a part of what you earn and eventually make your money work for you. Being frugal simply means being careful with your spending and not buying things you do not need. In other words, I want to make sure that I get the most value out of every single dollar, pound, or euro. When you first start building wealth, the beginning is always the hardest part. A small example of how I stay frugal in my own life is by looking for everyday deals on my phone. I often look for buy one get one free food offers, or finding a morning iced coffee for just 99 cents. The regular price of those iced coffees is usually $2.55, which is more than double the cost. So I think it is a great deal. Saving $1.55 might not magically change my life right away, but it shows how I handle my money overall. I always try to get the best deal possible because every dollar counts. Another important thing about saving money on a low income is that you can still make great progress by focusing on what you keep instead of just what you earn. For example, I know someone who makes over $700,000 a year. That is a massive amount of cash. But if you look closer, he actually has less than $50,000 in his savings, and he only saves about $20,000 a year. He has a 30-year house loan. He can barely afford 3 car payments and spends money without thinking. Many of us know someone who lives way beyond their means. He makes huge paychecks but only keeps a tiny percent of it. I believe if your goal is to save $20,000 a year, you can absolutely do that on a much smaller paycheck. Some people manage to do it making only $50,000 a year. What truly matters is keeping a high savings rate. You do this by being smart with your spending. Being frugal does not mean being cheap. You do not have to live like this forever, but to get started with investing, you must think carefully about every money choice you make, no matter how small it feels. Once you have savings, you can do exactly what Ronald Reed did, which is put that money into long-term investments. That leads me to the second pillar. The second pillar is investing aggressively. I do not mean buying highly risky things. I just mean you need to start putting money into your investments as early as you can and as much as possible. Let us imagine you invest $3,000 a year, which is 10% of an average janitor's pay in the United States. If you earn an 8% return by putting it into the S&P 500, you can see huge growth by age 65. If you start at age 18 investing $3,000 every year, by the time you reach 65, you will have $1,358,000. If you wait until age 25 to start, you will only have $777,169 by age 65. And if you start at age 35, you will end up with about $339,849. If you wait until you are 45 or 55, your final numbers look much lower, like $137,000 or just $43,000. I really hope this shows you how expensive it is to wait. Let us compare waiting 10 years, starting at 25 instead of 35. Starting at 25, putting away $3,000 a year or $250 a month gets you to that $777,000 mark. But waiting just 10 years means you only finish with $339,000. That is a massive loss of about $437,000 simply because you waited 10 years. Time is the most powerful tool you have. You need to get your money invested immediately. Ronald Reed clearly started doing this very early in life. He also kept investing aggressively well past the age of 65. Because he lived to be 92 years old, I am certain a huge chunk of his $8 million fortune grew between the ages of 65 and 92. That gave him another 27 years for his money to multiply on its own. The amount of money you invest also makes a massive difference. Earlier, I mentioned that saving $3,000 a year could build a $1,358,000 nest egg by age 65. However, if you can manage to put away $5,000, $7,000, or even $8,000 every year, your money will multiply at a much faster speed compared to saving just $3,000 a year. It all depends on finding ways to grow your pay over time. Even on a tight budget, most people can gradually earn more through regular raises, bonuses, or picking up extra side jobs. Adding extra income sources is the perfect way to speed up your journey to wealth. If you want to become a millionaire while earning a lower wage, you absolutely must know exactly where every single dollar is going. But more importantly, you have to truly believe that investing actually works. So many people doubt the system or do not trust that the stock market will keep growing. Some are just too afraid to take any risks at all. But if you step back and look at the actual numbers, investing simply makes sense. The data clearly shows that if you regularly invest your money, it will naturally grow over time. Time is truly the most powerful tool you have when it comes to personal finance. The earlier you start and the longer you leave your money alone, the more wealth you will build. It is just basic math and the magic of compounding. Imagine you make $50,000 a year and you invest $5,000, which is 10% of your pay every single year into the S&P 500. After 30 years of average returns, you would have $731,656. Now, if you just keep going for exactly 4 more years, your account would hit $1,038,000. Think about that. It took 30 years to reach $731,000. But in just 4 extra years, you gained over $300,000 more. Because your money started multiplying faster and faster. And remember, this basic example assumes your pay never goes up. It also assumes you stay single. If you get married and add a second income to your household, you could invest even more money together. These numbers are just a simple baseline if you only invest $5,000 a year. Now think back to Ronald Reed, who built an $8 million fortune by the time he was 92 years old. If we apply that same logic and give our money an extra 20 years to grow, the final number becomes massive. Using that same exact math, our account would explode to $5,570,000. That extra time alive is exactly how Ronald achieved his incredible wealth. People always talk about how rich Warren Buffett is. But most people do not realize that almost all of his wealth came later in life. In fact, he made 99% of his massive fortune after he turned 60 years old. Today, he is worth over $160 billion. Yes, he is an amazing investor. But people forget that his biggest secret is simply being consistent and living a very long life. He started investing when he was just 10 years old. Because of how compounding works, the biggest growth always happens at the very end. When he was 60 years old, he was worth about $3 billion. The vast majority of his current wealth was created after that point, because his money had another 35 years to multiply on its own. In just the last few years, his wealth jumped from $19 billion to $160 billion. If his investments grow by just 10% this year alone, he will easily make $16 billion. That is 32 times more than his total wealth when he was 53 years old. And that is all happening in just one single year. That is the true power of time. The best part is that anyone can do this at their own speed. The easiest way to win with money is simply to stay invested longer than everyone else. Every successful person knows this secret. So make sure you start investing and keep your money planted for the long run. The fourth pillar you need is creating more than one way to make money. Studies show that 65% of millionaires have at least 3 different income streams. 45% have 4 streams and 29% have 5 or more ways money flows to them. Having multiple ways to earn gives you an amazing safety net. There are 5 common ways people bring in money. Let us quickly walk through each one to see what you might be able to add to your own life to help you become a millionaire much faster and easier. The first is simply the money you earn from working. This is your main job, whether you work for a boss or run your own small business. It is usually paid to you as a steady salary or an hourly wage. You will probably rely on this primary income for most of your working years. The second way to make money is through your investments. This happens when you own assets that pay you cash on a regular basis, like dividend-paying stocks or large index funds. This money is completely passive. As long as you own those assets, they will send you cash payments. Going back to Ronald Reed, he owned 95 different stocks when he passed away, and many of them paid him these regular cash dividends. People who knew him said he bought shares in companies he knew well in companies that paid out large cash rewards. Whenever those checks arrived in the mail, he immediately used that cash to buy even more shares. Reinvesting that cash is the real secret here. It means you take the free money they give you and use it to automatically buy more pieces of that exact same company. The best part about doing this is that your pile of shares grows bigger and bigger without you lifting a finger. This supercharges your long-term wealth because you are combining fresh investments with the power of compounding. Many investing platforms let you set this up automatically. Usually there are no extra fees to do this, and sometimes you can even buy those extra pieces at a slight discount. This allows your money to snowball over time. The third way to earn money is through simple interest. This is the cash you get just for keeping your emergency funds in a high-yield savings account. Many of these accounts pay around 3.5% to 4% right now. That means if you have $10,000 sitting in savings, you will earn over $400 a year doing absolutely nothing. Compare that to a normal local bank where they pay you almost 0% interest on your hard-earned money. A 0.01% interest rate to be exact. Earning real interest on your savings is always better than getting nothing. The fourth way many wealthy people make money is by renting things out. If you own a house, an apartment, a car, or really anything that other people want to borrow for a fee, you can earn rental income. Even if you do not own a separate rental house, you could still rent out a spare bedroom or a garage space for extra cash. This might be hard to do if your income is very low, but it is still a powerful tool to keep in mind. Finally, the fifth way millionaires make money is by building a side business or working a second job. Most wealthy people start with a normal job, but spend their free time building a side project that eventually grows into something much larger. A simple rule to follow is to figure out your normal hourly pay. If you can find a side project that pays you the same amount or more per hour, then it is definitely worth your time. These 4 pillars are absolutely critical if you want to reach $1 million on a smaller paycheck. Is it impossible to become a millionaire with a low income? Definitely not. But will it be easy? No, it will require a massive amount of focus and strict discipline. Please remember that all the information shared today is purely for educational reference. Viewer discretion is strongly advised before making any major financial choices. Always do your own research before investing. If you found this helpful, please make sure to subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.